Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the Apex Online Racing's live broadcast series. Today is the start of a brand new quest for a lot of these drivers as we open up the inaugural race of the Apex Online Racing iRacing GT3 series, which has been derived, of course, from our ever-popular GT3 League, which ended up evolving into its new form that we now see as our GT3 League. A few changes that we're going to be seeing that we'll go over, but of course the inaugural race is going to be taking place here at the Watkins Glen International Raceway, previous home of the American Grand Prix in Formula 1. As we see here, the start of Formula 1. The start of the Pro Class qualifying is looking at a couple of the V3 racing cars. Of course, that is John Hallowell on the front of your screen right at the minute. Alongside me, of course, my name is Brayden Hill. Alongside me in the booth is my co-commentator and broadcaster, Niclas Domino. Nick, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm so pumped for this race. You know, it's so exciting to just be back and having, you know, GT cars racing again. I'm so excited to see what this GT3 machinery will provide us for some racing. A lot of these drivers have really done a lot of practice to, you know, try and battle with these new machineries, because they're not the same as jumping into GT3. You have less downforce, but you have more, you know, fun things to aid you with the cars. So hopefully we should get closer and better racing going into the season.
Absolutely, and this transition was highly voted for by a lot of the members of the league. Taking a look here at the center of your screen, on board now with John Hallowell, hailing from the United Kingdom. He's made a team switch over the off-season into the V3 racing team, which actually has fielded 12 total cars in this year's, this first season of GT3 racing, so you're going to have to keep an eye out for those cars. Of course, now on board with the McLaren MP4 GT3, this car, one of the strongest across the VRS GT Sprint series, an official iRacing series, of course, for its straight line speed, but a little bit unstable, as many people have admitted, even those who are big fans of the car. You can see him going through the bus stop here, now headed into the carousel. Now, the difference between this and the normal NASCAR layout, you stay out here to the left into the boot. NASCAR would normally stay to the right there and go through the short chute. Now it goes to left-hand corner, heading towards the toe of the boot, which is a hairpin, a long hairpin. You see that actually is his V3 Racing teammate, or one of them, in the Lamborghini, just a little bit ahead of him. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head which of those that is. But I want to come back to you, Nick, on the topic of the quality of racing. We saw a lot of complaints with some of the handling features of the GTE, and some would even argue that the GTE at the moment is one of the worst cars on iRacing in terms of the physics and the handling. What's the major differences as a driver between the GTE and GT3 cars, and what do you think will make this a lot more fun for these guys out here?
You can really push the GT3s a lot more. You have traction control to really mask when you're making big mistakes. The cars have, as I said, less overall downforce, so you need to go a little bit slower. So we will see slower lap times, about I think 3 or 4 seconds on some tracks. But it's they're so much more forgiving to drive, and on the McLaren here, as we just saw Hallowell putting in a P7 in the pro class here, as you can see on the overlay, the pros, he's actually getting down. Pros are with number 100 and with a red background. But the McLaren is probably the closest you get to difficulty of doing a GTE, where we have, new and exciting cars. We have the Lamborghini, which is quite fun to drive. I haven't done too much practice in it, but from what I have understood, it's fairly easy. But it's it still gives you a lot of you can feel the car, and you still need to, as we see a car slamming into the wall, you still need to focus on it, where the Mercedes, or not Mercedes, the BMW, if you really get that dialed in, it's just the most safe car. And that is the thing with this league. You get drivers here who can really push a lot more, because they're not as, if you just go a little bit close to the edge, you won't fall completely off where you did that in the GTs. And we have a lot more manufacturers in here as well. The cars are so much different compared to the GTs, where we had 5 manufacturers. I think what we have here is 6 or 7 different manufacturers. Is insane, and they are beautiful. These cars as well. They are beautiful.
Absolutely, and to go take a little bit of a step back towards your comment regarding the Lamborghini. Of course, to those who don't know, the Lamborghini GT3, the Huracan Evo, actually shares a chassis with that of the Audi R8. So those two cars with very similar handling characteristics, as well as a similar V10 sitting in the back end of those cars. Now looking at an Audi out on track, that's Alvar Gomez in the 169. He, of course, hailing from Spain.
Ooh, that is a little bit of an oversteer.
Yeah, had a little bit of a moment going to turn 1, and that's going to be interesting at the start of this race. As you look at a lot of these drivers, this is the first time they've raced around each other in these particular cars. So, yes, they've been around each other for a while, at least for a lot of these drivers. But in different cars, people drive a little bit differently. They have different driving styles and different ways of making up time, or making lap time anyway. So coming into turn 1 is going to be very interesting, especially at the start of this race, to watch everybody pack it in there and try not to end up with a bunch of wrecked race cars coming out of turn 1 and up into the bus stop.
Exactly, and also just the sound of these cars as well. You say similar. It's the exact same engine that is in the Lambo and the Audi. But these are the screaming V10s, and then you just go to the tank. Let's go on board for one lap with the tank. Oh, that's a horrible camera view.
Well,
But just the Mercedes. If you just listen to this, it's such a this is a powerful V8 that is just rumbling across into New York here, where we are. Such an incredible sound, and it's an easy car to drive as well. I feel that the Mercedes for me is the most forgiving car, but that's also because it has all the weight in the front.
Yeah, I was going to say that has to have a lot with
there.
Yeah, that has to have a lot to do with being a front-engine car, because you look at the BMW M4, that's also very well known for being a stable platform for some of the maybe newer drivers to a particular series, or the GT3s in general. The Mercedes and the BMW are generally a very safe choice because of that engine right in the front end of the car. The rotation a lot more from those front tires, whereas the mid and rear engine cars tend to want to rotate from the back. It can be a little bit more difficult to control. Now we'll continue to ride along on this lap with Andy Gorton. He's most of the way through the lap already, because he's actually short shifting quite a bit in the AMG, and some early braking here.
I think he's on a cooldown here.
Yeah, either a cooldown or a warm-up lap here for Andy. Now he, of course, was teamed up last season with Mike Skeppers in the Team Venom Ultima team. That was a pair of Ford GTs, if memory serves me correctly. Now they've each gone their separate ways. Now the number 185 that Andy Gordon has decided to go with the Mercedes AMG in that rather nicely liveried yellow and green car. And then, of course, Mike Skepper's going with the McLaren, which he's going to be absolutely dangerous in that. And since we do have a few more minutes, or actually just about a minute left in qualifying before we're going to get to the grid, on the topic of car choice, I feel like these cars have so many more differences and nuances between them that makes them so much better, or so much more tailored to certain drivers, that someone like Mike Skepper's driving in the McLaren is miles faster than he would be in any of the other GT3 cars, and it makes him an absolute weapon week in and week out. So given these extra car choices, who do you see as the biggest threats for this championship, both in the Pro and Am class?
Well, you mentioned himself there. For the pros, Shepherds. You can't get away from him. He's definitely one of the main guys here for the overall position. But as we have seen here before with Gordon now in the Mercedes, Andy Gordon is one of those drivers who will always be there, and he will always, just be getting podiums and getting race results. So for me, I think those two guys are championship contenders. And then I'm just interested to see who is gonna step up. We have Gomez in P2 at the moment, who's new to the league. We haven't seen before, so I'm interested to see how he's doing. And of course, On Bly, who can be really fast but have some horrible luck out there. So that for me is the pros in the amp that we unfortunately they qualified before we actually got here. Cooper, who's at the moment pole there, and Thomas Coombe are definitely some you need to be looking out for. Well, Jamie Smith is definitely the outside joker there. Former GTE champion, Mr. Smith as well. So just not somebody to sleep on.
Absolutely. I think the powerhouse, the easy pick at the beginning of the season has to be Mike Skepper's, now in a car that he is intimately familiar with and has a lot of experience driving. But I think a sleeper, and I know I'll sound a little bit biased towards the V3 Racing guys, but I think a sleeper in this one is definitely going to be Owen Blythe, because he might be in a car that he's not quite as comfortable with in that Lamborghini. He has been having a little bit of a hard time, after talking to him in the paddock, been having a little bit of a hard time with the setups and getting that car stable. But I think once he really gets tuned in with that car and gets a good handle on it, I think he's going to be absolutely a threat for podiums and for wins against Mike Skepper's.
Yeah, but it's an endurance. It's not a sprint, and that is what these drivers will be experiencing. But let's see here if we can get this one to work for us. Yeah, this is the qualifying. I can see something is definitely up with our overlay, but that's how it's gonna go.
Yeah, still learning a little bit with that. Probably want to hit the grid instead of qualify instead of results, but if you hit grid, that'll bring that up. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go. So sitting on pole, Mike Skepper's from the Netherlands with that V3 Racing team. Alvar Gomez, a little bit of a sleeper and a newcomer in the number 169. He will make his way into second place on the grid for the outside pole. Andy Gordon, past teammate to Mike Skepper's, he is sitting in third. Then the outside of the second row goes to Owen Blythe in the number 178. Following him, Kiefer McKenna starts on the inside of the third row, followed by Isaac Dren. Then, of course, John Hallowell making a move to the V3 Racing team as well. Then Rasmus Verblan in the from Estonia. He will take the 6th position. John Hallowell in 7th. Adam Flynn in the 9th position. Then Dan Alpel in 10th. He also has made a move to V3 Racing. Michael Edens. Then in the 173, Rano Luke in 12th position. That's your first 6 rows on the grid. 7th row going to be held by Evan Betts on the inside, followed by Thomas Saintot. Then Chris Yardley going to be on the outside of him, alongside Marvin Sluman, alongside Silver Tam. Then the next driver in line will be Stephen Broomfield. who has actually made the pro field. So this is his first season up with the pros from the past seasons in GT3. Asher Blythe, Owen Blythe's brother, a newcomer to the series, down in the 19th position. Then 20th goes Daniel Weber, followed by Victor Mateos in 21st, as we see the drivers getting rolling here. Then Mikhail Kingset, followed by Thomas Lagney. Now we get into the AM category. Merlin Cooper, who actually thought he might not be able to make the race today in the number 266, he has won your pole position. Pierre Thompson going to be alongside him. Thomas Coombe, his teammate to Merlin Cooper, going to be right behind him in line. Jamie Smith, as you mentioned, a past GTE champion, that number 275, going to be in 4th position. Then, of course, some issues with the overlay, but that is the number 5, the 5th place car. That is Daniel, let me pull up the name. That is Daniel Vanderlinde, followed by Thomas, not Thomas Lagney, that's an update as well. Then is Niels Ullmann, followed by Jersey, I'm not going to even pronounce that last name. He shall be a
Wasniak, yeah. Like we had him for a couple.
I shall call him my Polish friend, since we lost our German friend. Let's have the Polish friend.
That's true. That's true.
Then we have Tristan Koning, followed by David Cowrie in 9th and 10th. Our 10th goes to Mads Denson, a little bit further down now. Jensen, yes. Oh, the font is a little bit small on my screen. Then Ryan McIntosh, Stefan Comke, Tom O'Connell, as well as, let's see.
Vanabel?
Yep, that is, here it is, David Van Ababel. I will have to practice that name. Then Joost Warmeister. That's my best guess on how to pronounce that. Twan Van Belt. Twan Vandenbelt. There we go. Then Andreas Anso, and it looks like Dan Alpol is not actually on track, is he?
No, I saw something here that he apparently crashed.
Did he
did
fall
not
off
get
for
off.
some reason?
I have no idea.
He should have been in the pro category though, so why would he be off?
He should have.
Why would he be off track? That's
I
going
have
to be
no
something
idea.
interesting we'll have to look into. We'd like to thank you once again as we get ready to go back to green for racing once again in the AOR iRacing Leagues. Just want to thank you once again for joining us in the booth and on our YouTube chat. Looks like a little bit of an issue with the skin pack as well. Mike Skepper's not showing the correct livery, but we'll sort those issues out.
That's true.
It's a little bit of the kinks that we'll have to fix over time. We thank you for
the
bearing
drivers
with
have been off. We have been off.
Yeah, the drivers have been
That's
off the track. We've been off our rockers, so they say. Mike Skepper's holding back a little bit from that pace car at the front of the field. He will bring us to the green and has control of the field now. The McLaren, Audi, then then Mercedes, then Lamborghini. We are green for Season 1 of the AOR GT3 iRacing League. Headed into Turn 1, already single file for Mike Skepper's, but too wide for the second position. The 185 goes to the inside. An attack against Alvar Gomez already. Looks like the position going to stay with the Audi here. Not quite as good of a run off of Turn 1 from the Mercedes just behind. That's that is Owen Blythe there in the, not too far behind, in the Lamborghini. Now coming to the inside here, now into the bus stop for the first time. Owen Blythe going to look to attack. And he goes wide now, under pressure from his teammate just behind. That's Kiefer McKenna, putting pressure on the rear end of the 176. So that's the black and white liveried cars from V3 Racing. That new black livery just released recently. A little plug there, and a little bit looks like a change for position just behind. That's one of the V3 Racing McLarens making up a move on Isaac in the 112. So that's +1 position now. The pass for second made here by Andy Gorton, as he already is going to try to make an attack against his old teammate Mike Skepper's. Looks like some jostling for position a little bit further back there. Looks like Adam Flynn trying to make a move to the inside of one of his teammates even. Then the lone Audi coming from the V3 Racing stable and one of the Hyperion BMWs just behind. So he will defend the inside line. That is Michael Edens, caught under pressure from Rando Luke in the 111. All single file here as they go through the fast left and then right hand corners. Going to finish the first lap of the GT3 season. And looks like they're already having a little bit of a draft battle towards the front there, going back and forth. 2 moves up into the 3rd and 4th positions. That's the V3 Racing guys. Owen Blythe and Kiefer McKenna will slot in behind. Looks like a little bit of a struggle at the start of the race from our now 5th position driver, that is Gomez. What do you think could be causing those struggles? He was very fast in qualifying, obviously, but what do you think is making it a little bit difficult on him here in the start of the race?
It can be 2 things. It can be nerves for being, starting in a new league, and once you start to go backwards, you keep on going backwards in these starts. You really need to be on it. But also it can be a characteristic of the Audi that it might just, need a lap or 2 to really get some heat into the tires to really be there. Also, the fuel can upset the balance, so he might get back in there, after a couple of laps. And right now, the guys in front of him, both Keith and Owen Bly, when they see a move, they're gonna go for it. As we have experienced before, so if he has just been a little bit nervous, they're just gonna go on. But as we saw at the beginning, I did predict it would be Skeppers and Gordon. Those 2 guys, definitely somebody for the championship. And Gordon, even though he had a bad starting position, compared to his old rival, he's just within the first couple of corners, he's right up there again. Great start, and interesting to see if his fuel magician abilities can do anything in this race.
Right, absolutely. And on the topic of those V3 Racing guys and our leader Mike Skeppers, it's actually funny. 6 out of the top 10 drivers currently are from the V3 Racing stable across various different manufacturers, and we're looking here at a move from the 13th place runner currently, that is Evan Betts in the white V3 Racing Mercedes AMG. He's putting a hell of a lot of pressure on, I believe that is Rando Luke, just ahead of him in the Hyperion Racing Orange BMW. Oh, maybe it's not Rando, it must be one of his teammates a little bit.
No, it's Marvin Sluman. It's Marvin Sluman, our overlord up here, the AOR guy who's really, Big Papa. He's the one who's really doing a lot of the stuff to get this league running, and right now he's under pressure. So be careful, hitting that guy, because he will demote you right away.
Absolutely, and we got to be careful what we say up here in the booth, huh?
Well, he can't demote us, but yeah, to be honest. But just going backward. No, that's true. But just going back a little bit, we have Cooper, who has really gotten on with his McLaren. It's interesting to see 2 McLarens actually leading both the Pro and the AM class. But he's having a couple of Pro guys in between himself and the other AMs of Pierre Thompson, who is a late comer to the league. He just signed up just in this weekend, so late comer to the league. And then we have in P3 the other McLaren of Thomas Kuhn, and Kuhn is one of those drivers where he can be nowhere for the entirety of the race, and then when you look at the results, he's just there. Then he got a podium. And as we actually have a couple of AORs,
looks like we have a wreck. One of the V3 Racing cars, is that? I know it's a BMW.
And Belt, let me see if I can find him again here. Who's been off? Let's see. Ooh, Van Belt. That's into the wall. That's into the wall. As we have.
And then another car just behind, yeah. And then a wreck up in front. So there was like 3 completely separate wrecks happening all at once.
And this was Joost Baumeister, who is a new driver who just lost it on his own and into the wall. That's a hard hit into the wall. And it was
Let's see what
actually
happens
Dan
to Dan
Alpo.
Alpo. Yeah,
Dan Alpo who
a
is
newcomer
going
to
off.
the
Let's see.
V3 Racing team.
Oh, just being a little bit too aggressive there, going into the last corner, and that just took
Yeah,
him
seems to have
straight
just
into
sent
the
him
wall.
around.
Yeah, let's take that from another camera angle here. See if there's any contact between him and the Audi.
No, that
Oh
looked
yeah,
like a
there's
mistake on his own. Yeah, that
yeah
that was
no
very close to
he
contact from the Audi.
I think there were contact. I do think that there were contact, but there's nothing that the Audi could do at that point because he just hit the curb and got just slightly in front of the Audi, and then it's just unfortunate what happened there. But if we look back up into the lead, Skeppers is just taking off from where he left, into the lead and just saying adios amigos, and he's just going way off there. Let's get a little bit of performance balance to him already.
Yeah, absolutely.
2.9 seconds. That's one hell of a gap.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be hard to beat him all season long, and he's made his presence known even at the end of last season in the GT3 League. I believe it was season 12 that was our final season. He had come on really strong towards the end of the season, and it really showed that he meant business when he came into that season.
Yeah, definitely. And what we have to see, and maybe something that we need to touch on a little bit here, is that one thing is how he's performing or gonna perform in these longer races that we have. But we also have on our calendar, especially in round 3, the first feature and sprint race. So at that point, we're gonna reverse the I think it's championship order, or grid order from qualifying of the qualifying. So for each classes, which will mean that if he's keep on going up here, then at one point he will be at the back, and that is really the races that I think are gonna make this championship. Who is the best in traffic? Who is the best to overtake and get the most out of those race weekends?
Right, absolutely, and especially if you're a fast driver at the front of the field. And for those who don't know or aren't familiar with the format, our sprint and feature race format will have 2 separate races in one session. But what will happen is the drivers will, of course, get points after the first race, and then that finishing result, as we see an incident
Kamke
here.
is having an issue.
Yeah, Stefan looks like he made some hard contact. A little bit of damage to that left front, but looks like they mostly got away with it. Not sure who the other car was there that he made contact with.
233. It's Mads Jensen.
Okay, so a newer driver to the series, kind of getting mugged a little bit by a veteran, or maybe a little bit of a late move, but a little hard to tell there. As we see Dan Alpel actually just ahead trying to make a little bit of recovery for himself. But as I was saying with the sprint and feature format, the finishing order of the sprint race then becomes you reverse it. Ooh, big moment.
Oh,
there
Jamie,
for
that
75.
was close.
What a catch there. That was very close for Jamie Smith as he opens the door to the inside line, which will now become the outside. So Jamie going to keep the preferred line by staying right where he was at. Will he be able to defend from that move from the outside line? That's the 264, making a move to the outside there. Our new Polish friend.
Oh, is it our Polish friend? Yeah. Oh, as he's getting really close to getting overtaken by Lagny as well here.
Absolutely, a ton of pressure on him here. Not a good lap for that BMW from Hyperion Racing. Of course, that's the blue car. But as I try to reiterate here, the sprint feature format will have just a few races out of the season where we'll have a sprint race feature race format where the sprint race results will be then reversed, meaning the winner of that first race will then become the last place car in the feature race.
That's how it is. Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, so that will be that's going to be fun and exciting for sure.
It's gonna mix everything up. I can hear in the YouTube chat that you are a little bit quiet, mate.
A little bit quiet. I can try to turn that up.
Yeah. Well, it's not normal that you are quiet. You are American, so. Oh, that was me. I can hear myself. That's always interesting. As we're looking at the moment with Broomfield here in the middle of a 4-car pack, and he's having Yardley's Sluman in front of him, and then he has Asher Bly behind him. Asher in the Mercedes here in the tank. That is a tank. It sounds like a tank. It looks like a tank. Therefore, it is a tank.
If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it sure as hell is a duck.
Yeah, exactly. But these 4 or 5 drivers are really, Asher's a newcomer, but the others are some really, really old and good talent here. They have experience in this league. They've been here for a couple of seasons, so he really needs to pile under pressure. But these guys are not getting rattled easily.
Absolutely.
As we are having a couple of offs here, actually. From our new.
That's not a good incident there.
Ooh. Let's see if we can find that a little bit further off. That's off. That's way off.
Yeah, it looks like he just way overdrove the bus stop there. Ended up going over the. There's a big bump right there in the off-track area, and then had to rejoin there. Probably some damage to the floor of that car, potentially the splitter as well. But looks like he's gotten back on track and going to rejoin here. And looks like we're going to have a close battle here for a position. That's between John Hallowell, currently being put under pressure by our outside pole sitter. That is Gomez in the 169, who's trying to make the move back on John Hallowell. He's continuing to move further and further back down the field, now back down to 6th position, as the V3 Racing cars now 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. As well as Adam Flynn in 7th. We'll see if he's able to make up any time on Gomez in the 169. So that's going to be interesting to watch to see whether or not this Audi is going to be competitive for the rest of the season, because this really is a track that tests all aspects of these cars, whether it's acceleration coming out of these tight hairpin corners at the bottom of the boot, or whether it's the wide sweeping corners that you have in the bus stop, as well as the carousel. So it's kind of testing all aspects of these cars in terms of performance, as well as straight line speed, even coming up to the top of the hill through the S's. So this is going to be a great test for how competitive these cars are going to be, and it looks like the McLarens and the Mercedes, at least from what I can see, the McLarens, the Mercedes, and the Lamborghinis are going to be the strongest cars to beat all season.
Yeah, that's definitely what we see here at the moment. But again, I think it depends on the drivers as well. I've tried the McLaren, and I suck in all of them. But the McLaren for me is the slowest. I just can't get that to work for me. The Audi as well, I'm not too fond of it. But that's the thing with these, the driver characteristics. They are so different from what you're driving here, as we're seeing Gomez getting closer and closer, but he's nowhere near. And he's actually
clutching.
He's clutching.
That is interesting. So fuel strategy coming into play here. Perhaps Alvar Gomez is not quite as far off the pace as we think he is, so much as he is just saving fuel, potentially looking for a little bit of a strategy play here to make up track position on those drivers with the raw pace, such as Andy Gorton and Mike Skeppers. Looking at a replay here, Mads Jensen having a little bit of an off, maybe just a clip of the grass there on the exit. Oh, someone came straight across the track. We need to go back and see who that was that came across the track. That was a... Oh my lord, what an incident that was. Didn't even see where that came from. So this is something that goes all the way back.
Let's see if we can find out a little bit.
Okay. Oh, was that an intent? Oh, okay, we need to look on board with there. That that kind of looks intentional, if I'm honest.
I just think that he's getting way off into the next state as you're allowed to here. So he's just getting there. It's just
he just came across. He didn't know there was somebody on the inside there.
No, no, exactly. And then he's just made a horrible, horrible decision to try and get back out on the track. So here he thinks that there's nobody there. Yeah, now he's thinking there's green light, and
by then
did.
he's already way too committed. You can't
Yeah.
turn around past that point. Absolutely.
So that's sad. I think that right there is definitely damage that is too much to get over, and we have Mass Jensen here getting, that's sad for a fellow Dane to see a BMW that crashed. I think Van Bilt has gotten off. I think he has decided that was too much for him now, and has decided to park the car.
I mean, that had to have been enough damage to have basically destroyed that car entirely.
Yeah. And also we have seen him being off a couple of times, so I think that might be a good time to say, all right, that was thank you for tonight, and let's see you all next time.
And I mean, that's got to be so frustrating, going from being in a good position, maybe not running up high in the points, but as a driver, especially new to the series, you want to get laps, you want to get experience, especially now in these new cars and in the new season, which iRacing has made some updates to them. You want laps out on track to get that experience, and that's going to make you faster in the long run. But it looks like just an unfortunate set of circumstances that's going to end his day early.
Yeah, and it's such a you make these small mistakes, and you practice for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then one small mistake and you're out, and it's such a bad feeling. But you just need to forget all that, and then just decide, all right, next week I'm just gonna that is when I'm gonna go out there and get some points. I'm just gonna pull myself into next week. So that's just, unfortunately. But I was actually expecting a bigger crash during the starts. We had a clean start. I almost didn't want to say anything because, every time I say that, we have somebody crashing.
Yeah, commentator's curse.
Oh, the commentator's curse. Sometimes you just need to curse out of people. Just really, really be after them.
Yeah, you do that to me all the time in every endurance race, right?
That's not a commentator's curse. That's just you being an American.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, we have somebody way off. Daniel Weber just went. Oh, that's just a little bit too much. And hard hit into the wall. That's
got to be the end of the race. That's got to be suspension damage to the left front.
Yeah, I think so as well. Let's see that from the outside as well. Let's see here. Oh, he just hits the curb a little bit too much, and then, that's a really hard hit. And, stop rolling backwards. He's flashing his headlights for some reason. Because everybody knows when you have crashed your car, you need to flash the headlights just to make a point.
Well,
and
maybe
right
he was trying to reverse and hit the wrong button. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that, but in any circumstance, that's got to be the end of the day for Daniel Weber in his debut race here in the AOR League. Now riding on board with Owen Blythe, the 178 in the Lamborghini. Let's actually ride on board with him, see what he's doing to try to catch up to Andy Gorton ahead. You can see in the middle right of your screen, you'll see the speed of the car as well as the gear that Owen is currently in, up into 6th gear. Of course, these cars don't go up into 7th and 8th. But you can see he's a little bit deeper into the corner there in the bus stop. You can see how challenging of a corner this is to nail, because you have to be so smooth and nail those curbs just perfectly. And if you take, as we saw with Daniel just a few moments ago, if you take even just a little bit too much of that curb, you're going to end up putting yourself in the wall, and that is never a good thing, and almost always ends up ending your race. Now coming here into the toe of the boot, this is somewhere that Owen may be able to really attack, because it looks like that Lamborghini is just so strong on the brakes. A lot more nimble of a car than the Mercedes, but then the Mercedes shows its strength in a straight line. You can see Owen, even though he's in the slipstream, just barely catching up to the back end of that yellow Mercedes up ahead, but then you can see once again gaining a ton of time towards the center of the corner, especially under braking. Nick, your thoughts?
I think he's gonna overtake soon. But yeah, it's just a characteristic. What we might also see here is that Gordon might be running a little bit out of tires, and that the Lambo might be a little bit better here. But the Mercedes is also with this huge front. You know, it's a front with a little bit of car behind it.
Yeah.
It really has a tendency to understeer quite a lot. And I think that's maybe also something that we see here. And again, you know, Bly might be better at braking in these GT3 cars. So let's just be with him here for a little bit before we actually see that there's somebody who crashed here.
Yeah, let's see if we can see where this pass is going to happen, because he's got to be very mindful of where he's going to make this pass. It's difficult when the Mercedes is so strong off the exit of the corner. Unless you can really dive bomb it in there, it's going to be really difficult for him to make that move. And Kiefer McKenna is not too far behind, so if you're Andy Gorton, you got to really be keeping an eye out of your mirror, because if Owen comes through, Kiefer's going to be trying to follow suit rather soon. Now Tristan Koning looks like he's had a little bit of an incident. He's in the Audi number 217. What the heck happened there?
That's a little bit of a wiggle there. He just got a bit too deep into the corner, and then you know, the car behind him in the...
Was that Marvin? Or no, not Marvin.
No, let me see.
That was one hell of a sideways wiggle there.
That was one hell of a sideways wiggle.
Absolutely.
We'll find here.
Take a look here.
I can't actually find out who that is. Let me just see. 208. 208. Oh, that was David Gordy.
So another...
that?
Gowrie?
Another newcomer, Gary. That's the thing. You know, I'm the one who's gonna mispronounce all the names.
See,
and you're the one who's getting shit about it.
Yeah, you'll pronounce the international, well, international to me, names. You'll get those ones right, and I'll get the normal ones just fine. See, Andy is just a normal name. Thank you, Andy, for being born with a normal name. Looks like the move's going to happen here. High pressure from the 178. The Lamborghini going to try to get deep into the slipstream. Not quite able to make any sort of move here, but certainly putting the pressure on Andy Gorton. If you're Andy Gorton, are you looking out the mirror to see where Owen's at? Or are you focused out the front trying to get the best lap time possible to pull away?
You're focusing front, because if you look backwards, you're going to go backwards. That's the thing. So you're just completely focused on what you're doing ahead of you, and just trying to, you know, maybe make a little bit of different lines just to show that I am here, and just to try and rattle the guy in front of you. But, you know, Keitha, you know,
I think Kiefer is absolutely a sleeper here, because he won't make too many aggressive moves unless he's in practice with the rest of the guys and just wrecking everyone.
Oh, yeah.
But he could be a total sleeper. He doesn't maybe have the speed to pass Owen, but he's being incredibly smart, just staying behind, waiting for his opportunity, because if he can time it right, he'll be able to make that move past Owen and past Andy if he can get them at the right time, especially if they get side by side on the straight and slow each other down.
And he's not, you know, Irishman, so
he's probably drinking a beer while he's doing it.
Whiskey, man,
or Guinness.
Yeah. Oh, Guinness, yeah. but he's a crazy man.
He's
really
an absolute mad lad. Absolutely,
yeah.
I can't think of anything that would describe Kiefer McKenna better than a mad lad. And you could even hear coming out of turn 1 why I personally love this Lamborghini so much as a car on iRacing, because of the incredible sounds. And I don't know if you could get a gearbox cam here as they go into this section here. You'll hear a lot of pops from that rear exhaust that just sounds spectacular coming from that V10. Just a little bit of extra gusto that we don't quite have in the Audi sounds. But yeah, just listen closely for a lap here. an absolutely gorgeous car to listen to, and you can see Kiefer flashing the lights saying hello to hopefully saying hello to us on the broadcast. I'm gonna assume that's him saying hello. Because I know he would just be annoying Owen otherwise. So 0.4 of a second the gap between Owen and each of his competitors nearby, between himself and Andy, but then it is nearly 7 seconds they got from Andy up to Mike Skeppers, who's absolutely destroying the field here. Not even a close competition, but this battle for second continues to get ever closer, and it's going to be interesting to see here coming towards the end of the race. We are just about approaching 1/3 of the way, or I should say a quarter of the way through this race. 30 minutes nearly elapsed here.
Oh, we have a blinker.
Yep.
I have a blinker. That's
looks looks like a little bit of an internet problem there for the Canadian. Damn Canadian internet.
Oh, well.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a lot of curb that Thomas is using there.
Let's see what Thomas is.
Yeah, he's all the way down in 22nd overall, but second in class. But let's just talk about Thomas a little bit. Last season in the GT3 League, he came in late and won the first race he came into. He won, 3 different races? And each one of them, he might not have had the fastest car in the field, but he put himself into such good positions and just drove smart races. And I don't think there's any other driver that did that quite as well as Thomas did last season. I expect more of the same this year. But it's interesting to see Merlin actually leading the class because, you know, we haven't seen that much speed out of Merlin, at least not in the GTE cars, compared to his competition. But now it's 2 of the V3 cars leading in the AM category, with Niels Ullmann just about 5.5 or so seconds behind.
Oh yeah, and Koom had a tendency to be nowhere. I remember he had a race where he was like P6 for the whole race. He was nowhere, and then when he crossed the finish line, suddenly, boom, he was P2, and we were like, but how? And that has kind of been the way he did racing. I remember his greatest race were at the Nordschleife. He really impressed me around there, and we are gonna go there in this season as well. So that's gonna be interesting to see there. Mr. Merlin he's always been kind of a sleeper in the AM categories for the GTs. I have had many of battles with Mr. Merlin around here. He's a fast, really fast guy, but he's not, you know, a guy that will, you know, just light up the timing screens, but he will just be just a little bit, you know, slower, but he will be that exact same time every single lap and just destroy you with that kind of consistency. Not as much pace, but just consistency. That is his way to really demoralize you, and you just have to push so much to try and just stay with him, that you then tend to overdrive a little bit, and then you don't have your consistency, and then he will just eat you up. That's the way Merlin does his driving and his talking on the racetrack.
Right, absolutely. And I think he even, you know, something else that could be contributing to this extra speed he has is in the offseason. Oh,
we have a
looks like
car
Lagny's ate the fence here, instantly reset. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. Oh, Alpel deep in there trying to make a move, and that seems to have thrown Lagny off of his line just a little bit, just enough that he hit that curb on the inside too hard, and it ended up just sending him. Yeah, you can see the car just gets upset, has to correct down to the right side, and ends up eating that tire barrier. I can understand if he's a little bit frustrated with Dan there. That was a little bit of a late move from Dan to the inside, but it looked like neither of them was willing to give up. And understandably so. This is a competitive series, and it's none of these drivers wants to lose out on a single battle. But as I was talking about Merlin, and we see the battle here for 6th and 7th, as it looks like Alvar Gomez continues to fall back. Now he's gone back behind another one of the V3 racing cars. That's the Soul Ferrari from Matt Stable, driven by Adam Flynn. But on the topic of Merlin Cooper, I think what's contributed a lot to his speed is how much work he's been doing in the offseason with Mike Skeppers. They've done a ton of endurance races together and have joined a couple of different leagues together, and that's been given him the opportunity to learn a lot from one of the fastest guys out here, and certainly who's been putting a whooping on the field. But we can see that now Gomez continues to fall back about closer to 13 seconds or so. The gap between himself and our race leader, and not too far behind him is Michael Edens, who's going to, I'm sure, want to put some more pressure on him. So that's V3 Racing, 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 12th. So certainly not a bad showing from the V3 Racing guys. And I guess this brings up sort of a controversial question from your perspective, Nick. Do you think that one team should be allowed to have that many entries? I mean, we have a total of about 49 people registered for the league, if memory serves me correctly, or maybe it was 39 league entries. Do you think it's fair that 12 of those could be coming from basically the same stable, even with different team names?
No. Yeah, I definitely think that's fine. We have a limit of two drivers per team. So in that way, there's no real, advantage of it, because you still only have 2 drivers contributing to one team for the overall team championship. Even though you guys have 6 teams, 5 teams?
Yeah, 6 teams.
6 teams. Those are 6 different teams, and knowing those guys, they're gonna battle each other maybe even harder than anybody else, because they're not gonna want to be outdone by any other of the V3 racing drivers. The only thing that I think is a little bit sad is that we don't have more from the team AOR actually competing in here. That's sad to see from my perspective. We are missing the always the champion, the GOAT himself, Mr. Holstein. Holstein, if you see this, where the F are you? We have iRacing League. Get back here. Our only 3-time champ of the
GT3 League,
AOR League. Yeah, GT League. So we need him back. We need the Sarah Dove back. The person. She's the woman with the most races, the driver, the competitor with the most races in AOR iRacing history. We need her back as well. Drivers like that, Alex Bennett. So there are a couple of big names from AOR missing here, and I just hope to see them back. But glad to see that the V3 have kind of said, all right, well, then we will do an invasion. And now it's up to everybody else and AOR to really just push back. A hostile takeover. We have had it before. We have Pushwing. One year we had Geodesic Racing has always been here as well. So we've had quite a few in the past getting up there. But one driver that I wanna talk about here and have a look at, just because he needs a little bit of screen time, is the fake Finn.
Everyone's favorite
Mr.
fake
Kamke.
Finn.
He is a fake Finn, Mr. Kamke.
Fake snowflake.
He's a fake snowflake. He's a German living in Finland, and he doesn't deserve having the Finnish flag out of his in front of his name. I don't know why he persist on having it there, because having the Finnish flag there as a racing driver really means that you have another level. But he just.
It also means you don't like anyone else.
Oh yeah, well that's probably the most Finnish feature of him.
Well, yes, but I think Stefan's too nice to be Finnish.
Oh yeah, but he's also really, really savage.
That's very true.
But that's the thing where the Germans and the Finns, a little bit alike. But he's Mr. Consistency.
Absolutely.
That is Kamke. Kamke is Mr. Consistency. He might not be the fastest. He might not be the second fastest. He might not even be the fifth, sixth fastest. He's actually quite slow, but he will, just be there every single race and just get points. And he's just, that's why he will always be a contender for a championship. I will never ever, say that he's not a contender for a championship, even though he is P9 in the class at the moment.
Absolutely, and something else I want to bring up is if we look at a little bit further down at Stephen Brumfield, currently in the 32nd position overall. I'm surprised to see that that's a clean car because I was expecting him to have some damage. He is in the pro category, but currently scored 21st out of the 23 entries in the pro category, and is currently being beat by most of the AM field. I'm not sure if he's had some sort of issue at the start of this race or something that put him at a disadvantage, because we would expect somebody in a higher class to be a good bit further up the field. Now he's currently sandwiched between 11th and 12th in that AM category. Tristan Koning trying to make up a little bit of time on him, but that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, because that is not a good start to the season, especially with that points battle going to be pretty tight in the pro category especially, and Brumfield doesn't seem to have showed up at the start of this race anyway.
Ooh,
someone sideways. That was close. That was nearly bad. That's Van der Linde.
Van der Linde, yeah. But a thing that is there for Mr. Brumfield, he might be one of the drivers. Ooh, that's just a slight
That's a
spin there.
dangerous place to spin, though.
Oh, it really is. It really is. Just a little bit too much curb, and it's just, that's one of the spins where you're just waiting for it to happen, and it's gonna happen, but you can't really do anything about it.
And the car is just too lethargic to stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Somebody in the
we
wall.
have another one in the wall.
That is King Sepp in the 150. Looks like he might have just totally missed turn 1. Let's take a look here. Looks like 2 of the Hyperion. Oh, just turned to the left. You think that's a hardware failure?
Yeah, that's a hardware failure right there.
Those tires just immediately jutted to the left. But all of a sudden, you'd have to think that's a wheel disconnect of some kind. Now looking at the leader in our AM category, that is Merlin Cooper with those damn gold rims that I told him not to run, but here we are.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you leave the other guys to actually have something to say about those kind of things. But just going back to Brumfield, Brumfield has always been a driver that has been in the AM or lower pro AM class. We only have 2 classes this season. But Brumfield is maybe a driver that is a little bit hurt with the new way that we do it, where we have a clear-cut cutoff at 3K iRating for the beginning of the season, because we don't have any prior data on drivers. Because how fast they are in GTE machinery might not be valid in the GT3s as well. So we don't really have that data to go on. But he might be a driver that is really, really fast in some other racing series when he drives officials, but is not really a GT driver. So he might be put up with faster guys that that he's there with in other cars than GTs. So but that's the thing, we're gonna shape up here and look after a couple of races. All right, are there some drivers moving up and down? So everything could be shifting in a few races time.
Absolutely, and just for the start of the season, of course, this being the first season of the GT3 League that AOR has put on, we've started off with its rather simple formula, just clean cut line right at the 3K I rating mark, meaning that if you're above that cutoff line, you're in the pro category. If you're below it, you are in AM. But I'm sure the stores are going to be looking back at the replay of this race and some of the lap times to see if there's anybody who needs to be moved within the next coming weeks. But I think somebody that's definitely going to be on that list is going to be Brumfield, as to somebody that they need to look at for potentially moving down into the AM category and potentially even moving someone like Merlin Cooper up, depending on how his pace ends up panning out. Now to look at that battle for the lead in the AM category, those drivers not quite getting away from one another. Thomas Kuhn within 2 seconds of his teammate Merlin Cooper, and that that gap has stayed pretty consistent for about the last, what has it been, 20 minutes. They've been right on top of each other, not too far away. Merlin trying to deal with some traffic up ahead. I actually thought that was a lapped car for a moment, but that's actually Victor Mateos on the tail end of the first group of our pro drivers. Mateos, we saw him...
He's my nemesis. He's my nemesis. He is my nemesis. I've had amazing battles with Victor in the past. And he was actually one of the first drivers to experience what it got known to be dominoed. You know, just being behind me for... If you were behind me for 1 or 2 laps, you just were there for the rest of the race, because I could just defend like it was nobody's business. And Mateus really, he had the pace, but he didn't have the skills to not being dominoed. But he's also a driver that is just right about there. You know, is he a pro? Is he an AM driver?
Yeah, I'd say he's right on that line as well.
Yeah.
It's also interesting, it maybe speaks to his driving style, is that he's chosen the Lamborghini here in the GT3 League, and we saw him drive the Porsche GTE a lot of times, so he clearly likes to have that engine at the back end of the car, cars that are a little bit more nimble, but maybe a little bit more difficult to keep underneath you, and that, I guess, is just a testament to what his driving style is, and gives a little bit of insight into how he likes to pilot his weapons of choice. And I think that Hyperion Racing livery looks rather sharp with that livery. Now the first of our front runners to hit the pit lane is going to be Michael Edens in the 173. He was up inside of the top 8 in the V3 Racing Audi. He makes his way down the pit lane. Going to be interesting to see the leaders come down the pit lane. We're just about 3 minutes past halfway. Marvin Sluman also making his way into the pit lane. This battle for second continues to rage on. Owen Blythe still not able to make the pass on Andy Gorton, and it makes me wonder, with how good the pace of that 178 is, whether or not he's potentially staying behind intentionally in order to save a little bit of fuel and play a little bit of pit strategy, give himself more of a buffer before the end of this race when it comes to fuel stops. Of course, they will only need to make 1 stop in this race. We're just past, or approaching 45 minutes of an hour and 20, so just about 35 minutes to go in a little bit. But actually, this battle here for second place seems to have actually given John Hallowell a little bit of an opportunity to catch up, and Adam Flynn has been closing in on Hallowell. Flynn is going to be somebody to keep a close eye on, because he has been closing in on his teammate pretty rapidly, but still having to hold off Gomez for that 6th position as they're all getting prepared to hit the pit lane.
Yeah, and you know, the thing with, just going back to what you were saying about Bly and McKenna here and Gordon, is that if they're trying to save fuel, as Gordon is actually getting into the pit and just completely destroying my point that I had here, is that Gordon has historically been the fuel whisperer. He's always done a lap or 2 more than anybody else, but it seems like he's pitting early this time, and that could be really interesting to see if they can now stretch their leg as they're approaching a slower car that's getting lapped here.
Right, absolutely. Well, a flash of the light from Blythe there, and this is going to be interesting, because it looked to me, and I'm not sure if you saw something different, Nick, but it looked to me when Andy turned to the right-hand side to dip into the pit lane, it actually significantly slowed down Owen's momentum, and his teammate Kiefer was nice enough to stay behind him, let off the throttle, but that's going to be interesting to see where they come out of the pit lane in respect to one another. The gap was just about between 2 and 4/10 of a second prior to coming into the pits. We'll have to see where they end up there. Now our new leader in the AM category, Niels Ullmann, has been able to stretch the fuel in that Audi R8, but already under pressure from one of the drivers who has pitted already. It looks like Ansu in the 232 going to try to make a little bit of a move here, but that Mercedes also very fast in a straight line in comparison to the Audi, whereas the Audi definitely shows its strength in the corners.
I think that Mercedes right there is a lap behind.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the lap
Because
cars, he's just
Ullman
already
is
come down the pit
all
lane.
the way up. Yeah, because Ullman is Shippers. And you know, Nils is just, you know, really up there. He's in the top 10 overall. So as we have Shivers in pits, and we have both Bly and McKenna Keitha into the pits.
So this is where we're gonna have to keep our eye on it as well. We see the Audi coming in. So Eddie Gorton just about to go through the heel of the boot at the bottom of the racetrack, at the south end of the racetrack. Now Blythe and McKenna going to top off on fuel, and Skeppers, I mean, he has enough of a gap. I don't think he could probably get out and take a bathroom break and get back in the car fast enough to still be ahead of the field.
Yeah, and as we can still see in the bottom, there's still in the pits, it's still Shivers, Gomez, Bly, and McKenna Keitha.
Well, Skeppers is done with his actual pit stop, a 24.4 second stop for Skeppers as he gets out of the pit lane, a total of 54 or so seconds on the pit lane. Blythe now going to come out as well. Now the question is, where's Andy Gorton in respect to them? Here's
Gorton is coming up behind it. They have jumped him. They have jumped him.
Yep, so that pit strategy going to play out for the V3 Racing guys, and it actually looks like Owen had a much better time on the pit stop. I don't know if maybe he took a little bit more or less fuel than Kiefer, but Kiefer now going to be hard defending to the charging Gorton from behind. Gorton has those tires warmed up. He's in a rhythm. He knows how that car is going to feel with the old tires, but with new fuel, and that's going to be tough for Kiefer to hold on to that position, but he wants to defend as much as possible to protect his teammates ahead. But as it stands right now, that would be a V3 Racing 1-2-3 on the podium once our current leader in the 112, Yain, who's stayed out on the pit strategy. Skeppers, though, another 8 seconds ahead of Owen Blythe.
Yeah, and as we just as we have a Tristan Koning crashing here, but just as we saw up there, we could really see that one lap, you know, gained those two drivers 1 or 2 seconds respectively. So as you said, that's as Koning has just decided to go completely off the track here. He's decided to park it and call it a day.
I think that's actually kind of a smart move for him. I'm not sure why he reset, but he was going to miss the corner there. He was going in there pretty hot, but to go straight instead of risking ending up in the wall, definitely a smart move there. But it looks like McKenna going to stretch his legs out from Andy Gorton. Gorton definitely struggling on pace compared to these Lamborghinis ahead of him, so the more agile mid and rear engine cars showing their strength with only one front engine car in the top 10 currently. Merlin Cooper, or sorry, this is Thomas Coombe we're taking a look at.
What has happened to Coombe?
Perhaps a long pit stop here, but it looks like he's definitely had an issue.
Find the pit stop time. Oh, Thomas Kuhn has had a 53-second pit stop. Oh, is that tires?
Maybe he perhaps he accidentally checked tires, but you know what? No, I was going to say maybe he could make up a position or two just to get back onto the podium. Not going to be the day today for Thomas Kuhn. We'll have to maybe ask him about that after the race, but that means our Polish friend has made it onto the podium.
Oh, yeah. This is the time where we really need a king, because King could that name. And I can't, because you know it's a Polish name. And Nils as well. Mr. Nils is in P2, so that strategy as well has really played out for him. Getting up there together with Thomas Coombs major cluster F. And Thomas Kuhn have been off track. Thomas Kuhn has been off the track. Let's see if we can find here what has happened.
And he held it straight. He did hold it straight, but that was a risky maneuver right there.
He's really pushing out there to try and see if he can get up and get that podium position.
I just think it's too far away.
Are you sure? Because Yeah, well, yeah, but
It's got to be about
well, it's
eight
still
seconds or
half.
so
It's
between the two of them.
yeah, still half a second or half an hour
That's
to
fair.
drive. So there's still a lot of racing to be done here. So I'm not sure that if we have learned anything over the last couple of seasons or couple of races with Goom is
Never
that
count him out for a podium.
never count him out for a podium. It's just that's just bad money right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else I want to bring up to continue the conversation about Pro and Am. A driver that's not only new to the series but new to iRacing is Asher Blythe, who's Owen Blythe's little brother. So Owen currently in the second position overall, and his brother in the Mercedes, also from V3 Racing. But he's not only new to this series but also new to iRacing. So joining this series looking for some more opportunities to gain experience, but was put into the Pro category because of his I rating, up above 3K, trying to take a position here from the BMW, currently sitting in third position in the AM category, but another driver in our Pro category not quite having the day that they would hope that they would be having. Looks like he's going to go to the inside here, get plenty of room there from the 264. Definitely a smart move there to just let him go. Definitely not worth getting into any sort of an incident, especially when you are sitting on the podium.
No, exactly, and this is the thing, with classes. When to fight and when just to stop. Oh, Kuma has crashed. Thomas Kuma has crashed. Let me see if I can find it here. What has happened to Mr. Kuma? Oh, is it way too hard into the chicane?
Oh, the McLaren strikes again. That's a hard lick. And the day goes from
really
bad to worse for Thomas Coombe. That is
Let's
the end of
get
the
that
day for
on board.
him. I think this is just gonna be a case of the McLaren being the McLaren. Yep, just a little bit of oversteer in the rear end, and once it's gone, it's gone. You could counter steer, and he was gonna spin either way. But once those rear tires start losing grip, it's done for. All hope is lost for that. And an unfortunate end to the race for Thomas Coombe after a slow pit stop. Potentially, we suspect had accidentally left tires checked and took tires on that last stop, but not quite sure exactly what happened there. Now the gap to the lead, holding it just under 10 seconds and another 2 seconds back to Kiefer McKenna. The closest battles on track right now at the moment is basically for third between Andy Gorton and Kiefer McKenna. Not too many huge battles right at the moment. This is kind of the section of the race where they start to settle in, and people are going to start to try to unleash their real pace. We've had our first pit stop, our first set of pit stops, so now everybody knows this is go time. If you got any pace left in that car, it is time to bring it out and start making up time. So these gaps might have spread out now, but you can expect them to start to get closer and closer to come the end of the race.
Yeah, and this is also where we find out, who is which driver are really aggressive on tires and who have kind of put them into blankets and sang a little bit of a love song for them. Oh, as we have a crash actually, Andreas Anzo, I think it's it's Estonian, and that is just the Mercedes just getting. Yeah, see that right there is such frustrating because you're just waiting for the car to spin, and it just keeps on going. And really nice driving, just trying to get away from everybody there, and he's just in such a bad position. Oh, reverse, yeah. Stop. Yeah, that's fine. Good driving, good clean driving, and not when you're in that situation, you really kind of you really want to get out of there as soon as possible, but you need to be patient to not have a huge crash. But just to get back to we see who is good on tires and who's just destroyed them at the beginning, because when the tires are going off, they're really gonna go off and you're gonna lose a lot of time. And also we have seen in the past that some drivers actually are under fueling quite a bit, so that's also a thing that we need to be aware of. As I can just see from my co-commentator that he has decided to take a sissy. Well, I believe that is the term that he's are doing, as we are just having a look back up here into the to the battle for the last podium position, with Kiefer McKenna and Andy Gordon keep on battling, and they're just trying to navigate lap traffic here with the AM car, who's just really going out of his way there, Baumeister, to not be in the middle of here. But Gordon is just still losing a lot of time. Ooh, Asher Blythe had crashed. Asher Blythe is in the wall, it seems. Let's see if we can get this to work here. Is that a solo crash right there? Oh, just a little bit too hot in there in the Mercedes. Does he get out of... Oh, no wall. No wall. That's a little bit of luck there, but just a bit too hot into the corner, and he gets out there without any issues and can drive on. But those tires are not going to be his friend. As we have another incident here with one of the new Estonian drivers. Is that a little bit too much? Copy paste of what Bly just had before, and that corner is definitely gonna taking a couple of drivers out right now. I think this might be the time where we see, rear tires have really taken a beating. These cars really are brutal on tires as well, because of ABS, that you can really stamp on the brakes, and it really takes it puts a lot of heat into the tires, because there's a lot of demanding of the tires that they are not really designed to do. So it's always, it can be a problem here, as we see Gordon really butcher in there and get there. And I can hear that our my co-commentator is back, and while you have been back, Mr. Asher Bly just had a bit of a slide and a bit of a scare, and he might need a couple of new pants after this race.
Yeah, I did see that replay. Looks like Asher going to need a pair of brown pants for next week's race. But on the topic of those spins, I think what could be a really big factor in that is simply the fact that this is the second cycle on those tires. So, they've started this race with fresh tires, obviously. They've abused them, run the tank out of fuel, and then put more fuel into it, still on those same old tires. So I think that's where you're going to see a lot of drivers start to make mistakes or have issues, is simply in that the handling of characteristics of the cars are changing. The temperature out on track is changing, as we see some cloud cover coming out onto the track. So this race is certainly not over, and the race is the track is certainly not done changing for the end of this, as we see a battle between V3 Racing teammates. That's the Ferrari up ahead of Adam Flynn, then Michael Edens in the 173. We're right on board with him in his Audi, going to try to put some pressure. We'll see if Adam just lets him go. Looks like it kind of leaves a little bit of room. Not sure if he'll actually just let him go. Looks like he's kind of defending the position a little bit there. Very close racing between the teammates. He'll now go to defend the inside line, so good side-by-side racing between the two of them. Edens decides to fall into line in the heel of the boot. Not going to try to make that move there, but maybe on the exit coming towards the front straightaway. Edens maybe just a little bit better on the brakes, it seems. But the center of the corner and the exit are spectacular for Adam. And even in testing, Adam was boasting about just how good the straight line speed of that Ferrari was. It's not too good in the corners, but it's definitely got some straight line speed.
Yeah, but if we are gonna look at the statistic, he's gonna be overtaken by Mr. Edens during this race. Just due to that, Halliwell is in front right now, and we know that if Halliwell is there, either Edens is right in front or right behind him. Those two guys are, I think, last season they had 80% of the races they were just right in front of each other, so it's ridiculously close, and that's also why they've been teammates for such a long time and now gone separate ways. But yeah, this is an interesting battle up there. But one thing, just to go back to your point before, one thing that I think we also see the contributing is tires. Just the tire rubber out there. at the edge of the track. If you go out there, you will spin, because then there's no grip out there. So I think that's what we see as well. That if they go too much offline, there's no grip.
Absolutely, and as the track is going to develop, a lot of marbles as well off of the
Marbles.
racing line.
That was the thing.
That's the word you were looking for, but
yes,
that's going to be a huge contributing factor here when it comes to any sort of side-by-side racing. It's going to get harder and harder for them to race side-by-side. You see a little bit of a moment from one of those lap cars, pulls over to the side to allow this battle to go to rage on, and these two guys actually aren't too far back from John Hallowell, their other V3 Racing teammate, just about 3.3 seconds or so ahead. So if these guys stay in line and make their way through traffic rather methodically, I think they could easily make up the time to catch up to him within the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think so as well. But again, Edens and Flynn has lost this battle, even though before it began. Although that Ferrari is a beast on the straights. Let's see if he can get the double toe down here on the straight into the bus stop. Is he gonna break? No, he's not gonna outbreak that Ferrari. I do like that Flynn has decided to take the Ferrari because is a little bit of an underdog, and everybody loves an underdog story. So that Ferrari, is it's not the most popular car in the field, and we also see why it tends to be a little bit of, as he's actually going a little bit off track there, it tends to be a little bit difficult to drive.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's by far outperforming the car that he has underneath him, and of any driver in this series to make a decision like that, I think Adam is absolutely the driver that would do that, because he's just a little bit crazy in the head, and currently actually doing a really good job of holding off Michael Edens, who I think we generally, based off of the pace in the GT3 League, we would expect Edens to have a little bit better pace. Makes a little bit of a dive to the inside there, but thinks better of it and pulls out. But between the two of these drivers, who are now teammates for the first time in AOR, I think Edens generally had a little bit better pace than Adam in past seasons. So I think it's definitely an awesome job by Adam holding off Michael, and both of them showing off their brand new liveries.
Oh, definitely. But one thing that is with Michael is that he has never been a extremely good qualifier. He's always been a decent qualifier, but not really setting any eyes ablaze. He's just there, and that has hurt him sometimes during some of his races. That his qualifying is his Achilles heel. But as he's almost getting onto the grass right there into the bus stop, Flynn is just getting a little bit from side to side, and that could have been really, really bad right there.
Yeah, that could have been a big incident in taking out two of the strongest, the members of the strongest team so far. I think absolutely the V3 Racing guys are just destroying the field and showing off all the work that they've done since the end of the GT3 League. And of course, as we approach the end of this race, just about 15 minutes remaining, or coming up on 15 minutes remaining, want to get some nominations for Driver of the Race from those of you in YouTube chat who've joined us in the Apex Online Racing booth, of course, presented by our sponsors, Elgato and GT Omega. Of course, a thank you to you, Nick, for helping put all this on. A lot of your work in the logos and the skin pack, and of course, we've put this overlay together, trying to make it as good to watch for you guys at home as possible. Looks like the race for the lead just about over, but a few more positions up for grabs. The battle for the final podium position and a V3 lockout is currently being contested. Andy Gorton continuing to try to put pressure on Kiefer McKenna, not quite able to put any sort of pressure, certainly not this time up the S's, but potentially could become a battle that we'll want to see more of. Michael Edens and Adam Flynn still going at it. Rano Luke also putting a little bit of pressure on the 105 in 10th for the final of the top 10 positions. Man, Gorton is just so close coming into the bus stop there. The speed of the Mercedes not quite able to carry him to the inside of McKenna going into the bus stop, but certainly able to make McKenna think about what's in his mirror.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the things, as Hallowell is getting up to P5. That is one thing that we haven't seen. He's overtaken both Isaac and Elvis for positions here. Let's just have a look back here. So he's getting by there. Oh, that's a double overtake. What a move. What a move. Just passing both of them up the hill and getting into the bus stop. See here a little bit further behind there. And that's a dive. That's a dive and a half right into to the bus stop right there. That could have gone so horribly wrong, as we've seen from some of his teammates in the past.
I mean, moves like that, when they go wrong hard. But when they go right, man, there's nothing more satisfying to watch or to experience as a driver.
No, it's one of those moves where you're like, how did I make it? I don't know. I don't care. I just made it. But it's interesting to see, Gordon is always the underdog. He's always going to battle the big teams, and this season is going to be the V3 guys up there. Past seasons it has been the Comrade Gaming. It has always also been, Geodesic Racing and stuff like that. And Gordon has just been the guy who has battled with these big teams, and he's always been this privateer independent guy. So he always want to take it up with the establishment and beat the big guys.
Absolutely, and a few of the privateer drivers, I think, generally are going to be a little bit of a disadvantage, especially in the pro category, because when you have a teammate, especially, a whole group of teammates, if you're in the case of V3 Racing, I think it's so much of an advantage to have that extra data, that extra help to work on setups. You might not have the time to work on a setup during the week, but maybe one of your teammates does, and that ends up making teams like V3 Racing absolute powerhouses and very tough to beat, as we see Comk pulling well out of the way of the leaders just to let them by for this battle, as this is going to be a close one come the end of the race. Just coming up on a little bit over 10 minutes to go in the race. Probably I'd expect around about 6 or 7 laps remaining in this race. Skeppers continues to extend his lead up out at the front of the field. 10.5 seconds currently his gap over Owen Blythe, who currently sits second fastest in the session.
This could be juicy. This could be juicy.
As it looks
Gordon
like a couple of the cars coming in.
Close.
I'm not sure why they've pit for a second time there, but
Gordon's
certainly Gordon goes to the inside. Kiefer going to fight back on the outside, diving into turn 1. Kiefer with a little bit of the momentum coming up to the S's, but it looks like he's going to actually surrender the position and go for the safe route, just letting Andy go by. But that's definitely an interesting choice by Kiefer. I would have expected him to fight back a little bit more. Maybe he's going to make a move come the inside here. Definitely got the slipstream and a run coming through, and he lets off the gas.
That's the defense and a half.
I mean, very smart by Kiefer, though, not to send it to the outside there, because that could end up working out badly for both of them. But that's going to be the end, at least as of right now, of a potential podium lockout for V3 Racing.
Yeah, definitely. And that right there is just, traffic getting in the way, as we've seen before. As I think a couple of the guys who are pitting now might be guys who are just, all right, don't want to be in the mix of the pro drivers battles here, or just have mixed up with the fuel calculation as well. You're gonna have that. A lot of reasons for these late pit stops, but I will say for Keith, I know that he didn't go for that move, and I know why it could have been, but I still think that he gave up a little bit too much there, to be honest, a little bit too fast, and not really battling for it too much. It's still a podium position.
He almost seemed to just roll over once Gorton had the inside going into the S's, and I feel like he could have fought back quite a bit more, knowing his driving style.
He almost did the French thing, just made it a little bit of a fuss, and then waved the white flag. And that's the French thing to do.
Unless it's Monty Python.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Anyway, looks like the battle between Edens and Adam Flynn continuing to get closer and closer. I'm surprised that Edens has not been able to make this move yet. I am genuinely surprised that Audi is not able to outpace the Ferrari just on the raw speed of the car, much less the drivers, where, nothing against Adam, but I think Michael, just in past seasons, has been the faster driver, but it looks like a little bit of a move to the outside there, or at least a look, as Michael forcing Adam to go to the inside on the entry to the bus stop. That ended up compromising his exit, but Michael not able to get a good enough exit himself to make any sort of move going into the carousel. Shows his nose to the inside. Clearly, he's making his intentions very clear in that number 173. He knows that he's got to put that pressure on Adam Flynn, because otherwise he will not be able to have an opportunity again if he does not take it, as we now close in on 8 minutes to go, an hour and 12 elapsed. Adam going to continue to defend the inside. A spectacular battle between these teammates to the inside. They break at almost identical times. Michael going to have the better exit here. Clips a little bit of the curb, not able to get on the throttle to the fullest extent until just a moment after Adam, I would think. And you can see, just from this perspective, I mean, you can see quite a bit less from the cockpit, from the driver's seat, with that big, wide Ferrari in front of you. Of course, it's not as wide as the BMW or the Mercedes, but certainly a little bit more difficult to see your apexes when you're that uptight underneath someone's rear wing, as this battle continues to rage on. And it's going to be interesting to see how this closes up towards the end of the race. Looks like we have a couple of drivers close together as well for 5th, 6th, and 7th. John Hallowell continuing to hold off Gomez and Yen, all in the top 10. That is a McLaren. Looks like, well, speaking of Mercedes, looks like Steffens had some sort of an incident going into turn 1. Maybe contact here?
That's just a battle. I just saw, 5 or 6 changes of position. I was like, that gotta be a battle.
Absolutely.
And it's just getting a nice, clean pass into turn 1. I think they just went a little bit back and forth,
and that's what we've come to expect from Stefan as a driver, is just good, clean passes.
As a Tom call, just had to go off there to not get in the way of Mr.
And
Mr.
meanwhile,
Kanke,
that battle's happening right in front of the battle for 5th position overall, because you can see those 3 cars in a train right behind. And now they're all mixed in together. That's McLaren, then Audi, then Lamborghini for the battle in the Pro category. And in the AMs, it is a Mercedes currently leading a BMW. That's Comke in the white and gold car. And then the green and black, that's Tom O'Connell a little bit further back. We saw him make that mistake in the bus stop that cost him the position. And then not too far back, then you see Michael Eden still putting the pressure on Adam Flynn as they continue to catch up to those cars ahead. So we could end up seeing what could be a 5-car battle for 5th through 9th-ish on the grid, or in the finishing positions. Oh, and a big run from Edens here. That's going to be a big run. Is he going to be able to get to the inside? No, the speed of the Ferrari ahead just absolutely superior. I don't know about you, but it looked like Edens had a massive run coming off of the corner that time. Looks like Adam running a little bit wide, going to compromise his speed coming up the S's just a touch, but Eden's just not able to make the right move. He continues to stay up as close as he can under the front wing of the Ferrari, but man, that's got to be a frustrating situation for Michael Edens, just not able to have the straight line speed. He pulls out to the left-hand side, not quite able to get side by side. He goes deep into the braking zone, going to try to make Adam have to compromise his exit, but it ends up just compromising Edens himself, and Adam continues to drive off into the sunset, but Michael going to try to just immediately reel him back in. A flash of the lights from Flynn to Tom O'Connell, just a little bit ahead. O'Connell going to hopefully get out of the way and let that battle continue on as it was. Let's see if Edens is able to use the traffic as a pick here.
Yeah, this is what he needs. He needs the traffic to really play into his hand.
Oh, and a little bit of contact. Just a kiss between the 200 and 124 cars. Man, that had to have been close. You couldn't have put a piece of paper between those two cars if they didn't touch. And it did compromise the exit speed of Adam a little bit coming out of the toe of the boot, but then in the heel, it was Michael Edens who had a compromised exit, so now that battle ends up just about net zero in terms of time loss. But here's their V3 Racing teammate, Stefan Komke, in the 27th overall position, who sees that battle for 8th and 9th just behind. I'm sure, knowing Stefan, he'll just get right out of the way coming down this front straightaway.
Oh, yeah, he don't... Well, yeah, as we see here, he just lift off a little bit, and he doesn't want to be in the middle of anything. And he's braking early here. Let's see. Yeah, he's just getting way out of the way. Into the next state with you, Mr. Kamke, and let the battle heat on up there. But let's just take a little bit of a closer look and actually see what our amps are. You know, Mr. Cooper out there, he's just had a fun little ride out here. Let's see if we can get it actually.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like quite the relaxing Sunday drive for Merlin. It's interesting because his pace doesn't seem to be, you know, absolutely unbelievably spectacular compared to the cars around him, but he's just done such a good job of remaining consistent and taking good care of that car, where someone like Thomas Kuhn, who was just a little bit behind him before the pit stops, ended up making a mistake and putting his car onto the wall, ending up ending his day in his team car. But Merlin's done such a good job of just making his moves cleanly. And has there been an issue for Michael Edens?
I think there have been. Let's see.
Perhaps contact between the teammates. Looks like Eden gets a huge run here on Flynn. Oh, and he just slides it in way too fast. A half spin for Michael Edens. Oh, and contact with his teammate behind. Stefan Komke not able to see coming around that corner. That slows the speed of the Audi way down. Huge damage to the front of the Mercedes and the rear end diffuser of Michael Edens. He loses 2 positions out of that, and maybe even more. The 111 now goes to the outside. No, looks like he'll keep that position, so a net -1 loss there. Oh, and we have Evan Betts getting dumped by one of the BMWs. Not sure who that was that made contact with him. Maybe we can ride on board. Oh, and Evan just got on the throttle a little bit too hard trying to recover the car. Ended up losing a whole bunch more time. That was a late dive by the BMW. That was very late.
It was really, really late. Let's see if we can find another. I can't see who that is right there.
Yeah, a little bit hard to see what the number is, but I'm sure that'll be looked at by the stewards.
Oh, definitely. As Chris Yardley has been off the track as well. Let's see. Oh,
and that's an end of the race. Only a few minutes left in the race, and hard contact for Yardley. That has to be massive suspension damage on the front of that Lamborghini. I can't. I imagine though. On a somewhat separate topic, I can't even imagine how awesome that would have looked with the new damage model.
The new damage model. Gordon. Gordon is losing position. Gordon loses the position to Kiefer. Kiefer just decided to get in here on our way on to the second to last lap and getting that position right there.
So it looks like they'll actually be coming. I think they're going to be coming to the white flag, but that's a excellent textbook move by Kiefer, coming into the heel of the boot, just gets his nose in there enough, gets door-to-door with Andy, and slides him out just a little bit on the exit of the corner, just enough to get himself clear, and now that position goes back in favor of Kiefer McKenna. The question is he going to be able to hold on to it for about another lap? I think we should be seeing the white flag rather shortly if we haven't already. Note to self for later, add that into the overlay. But as of right now, it's Mike Skeppers way ahead of the field, nearly 14 seconds ahead of his nearest competitor, Owen Blythe. Kiefer McKenna another 6 seconds back in a second. The gap between himself and Andy Gorton. Then Hallowell going to round out the top 5. So that's actually 4 of the top 5 from the V3 Racing stable. And actually, a little bit of a shout out to John Hallowell. He's had a quiet but very consistent race, and that's going to be an awesome point stay for that car, as well as Isaac Yen, a new driver to the series. Did a little bit of fuel strategy and stayed out longer, but pulled it off.
Isaac have been here before.
Not in recent seasons, though.
Yeah, you might be right, but I definitely have seen him here before. As Gomez is losing a position again.
Gomez has just had a tough race
He has
It looks
had
like
a
he's
really
had
good
a
race.
really hard time getting a handle on that Audi, and it'll be interesting to see if maybe he even considers switching cars, because that Audi is absolutely a struggle, and it looks like he's actually off the pace. Has he run out?
he's way
Has
off.
he underfueled? Perhaps he's now lost 3 positions in this lap as Mike Skeppers has taken the checkered flag. He comes across the line to win the opening race of the GT3 League. Owen Blythe now going to try to make his way across the line. There's another position gone for Gomez. Is he out of fuel? Looks like he's
think
in
so.
the
Let's-
looks like he's in the clutch. We
Yeah,
saw
he
him
is.
earlier
Yeah,
in the
he is.
race. Yeah, he has to be. Oh, look, he's clutching it, trying to just make it across the line. He knew he wasn't going to be able to make it.
Listen to it when he's goes under gas.
And immediately
Yeah,
gets
he's
on the
definitely-
clutch. Man, that's
he's definitely
unfortunate.
fueled
Went
there.
from 7th down to 11th on the last lap because he didn't have enough fuel in the car. Hallowell comes across the line. Now the 7th place battle is determined. Unfortunate that Edens and Flynn were not able to battle that one out to the total end, but of course it was a mistake from Edens that will bring him home in the 10th position instead. Now to go a little bit further back to our AM category drivers, Merlin Cooper with a comfortable
Is he
6.5
slow as
seconds
well?
lead. Maybe just relaxing coming to the finish, but no, it doesn't look like he's out of fuel. I'm not
No.
sure.
He just lost a weird position there, but
Well, that was a position on track, but not for position. That was Asher Blythe who came across,
that's true.
who
That's
is
true.
going to be
yeah.
finishing in the 20th position. And actually, here we go. Merlin going to come across for his first win of the season. Hopefully one of many. So that is going to be a V3 Racing McLaren lockout for the race there. And actually, Niels Ullmann caught up by quite a bit because Merlin was so far off the pace towards the end there. I think he was just relaxing, letting the car go across the line. Looks like the same thing from Van den Abbeville, who has...
I
he
think
must be
everybody
out of,
has crossed the line. No, I
Oh,
think
is he
they have
done? Has
crossed
he
the line.
taken the checker? Okay, I thought he hadn't taken the checkered yet, but that's gonna be it there. I mean, what a race! That was honestly really awesome for the first start of this GT3 League, and I think this is an absolutely spectacular omen for what is to come and the potential of this league.
Oh yeah, definitely. And but this track also, we might have had not the most amount of overtakes and stuff like that, but we don't see that on this track. This track is really a track that tests the driver's skills in just being smooth and being consistent, and those are the drivers who really excel here. And driver like Thomas Kuhn will be really, really angry with himself because he had the potential to just get some really good points for the championship this night, and he blew it. And see, Kamke is P7, so he's already behind Mr. Kamke. You will never pass him once you get behind him.
Yeah, especially once he throws snowballs at you.
That's true.
So that's a wrap on our first race of the season. We'll see if we can get interviews with our winners in each class, Mike Skeppers and Merlin Cooper. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get Mike to cooperate, but I think Merlin will. So we'll see if we can get them up into the booth. But Nick, your thoughts and analysis of the race so far?
I think more of the same, but still new. I think we have seen that the drivers who have been fast before are still fast. We have seen that the McLaren is, for me, the dominant car by this race alone. So that's a huge statement for me. But by this race alone. But I also think we have seen that car is a diva. If you treat her not well all the time, she will kill you.
And it looks like Adam has found a spectacular way to end his race. Can we take a look? Yeah, let's zoom in on that if we can. That's a real graceful position there, Adam. Very well done. 7th place finish for him.
Let's see.
That's I think he may have just been celebrating his existence.
What? I can see that. All right. Well.
All right. Well,
but
in the
that's
meantime,
that's the thing.
go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, I think for me, it's these races will give us a little bit of what we had before. The GT drama that we had before are still here. With the cars running out of fuel and drivers losing a little bit of their mind at the end. Losing concentration as well. I think one of the things that will really differentiate.
Okay. I can say
Brayden!
you can't press a lot left, can you?
Now's not the time. Yeah,
No.
Mike. Fuck off, Mike.
Mike, you're not getting Mike, man.
Hello.
I'm
Can I
proud
go?
of
Odd. See, why did you go? Now you have lost my thought in the middle of it.
No, don't worry. I was trying to go convince Mike to do an interview with us, but he's being stubborn today. But
Yeah. Okay.
first, let's start off with actually our third place finisher, Kiefer McKenna.
Yeah.
So the Irishman of the field, representing his country, a 5-second gap back. Northern Irish, same darn thing. Yeah, you're basically British. But anyway, a third place finish in a spectacular battle with Andy Gorton. What were your thoughts going back and forth with Andy there?
Yeah, it was exciting. I messed up my pit stop. One, I overshot the pit box, and two, I didn't put enough fuel in. But I knew that if the fuel saved, then I could have a go at Andy the final 2 or 3 laps, and yeah, it worked.
So how did that Lamborghini feel for you? I know it's been a wide variety of cars throughout the field. Of course, a lot of the mid and rear engine cars performing better than others. But how was the handling of the car with how hot the track was?
For some reason, it felt really good. Apart from the second last corner, you just die, and then the last corner it won't turn. But other than that, it was actually really good for some reason.
We saw a really dominant performance from your teammate Mike. How do you and Owen try to close that gap and try to make a run for this championship, or are you content sitting in on a podium spot?
I think what we do is we qualify P2 and P3, and then send Mike turn 1 every race. I think that's the plan.
And an excellent plan indeed. But thank you for joining us in the commentary box, Kiefer, and good luck the rest of the season. Congrats on the podium.
Thank you. You too. You didn't get a podium. Never mind.
As we said, a weird man.
Indeed. Now our AM winner, Merlin Cooper, joins us in the booth. Merlin, how's it feel? Well, he might have walked away.
Well, that's just because you're talking, maybe. Oh, yeah.
Let's see if we could try grabbing Stefan, our fake Finnish friend. Maybe. Maybe not. Have they both gone off?
Hello.
Ah, there he is.
The fake Finn is there. He's just as slow responding as he is on track.
Oh, that's my Discord, yeah.
So, Stefan, I actually wanted to ask you specifically about the incident where you made contact with Michael Edens towards the end of the race, ended up losing a whole bunch of positions after he made a mistake in the hairpin. What happened there from your perspective?
There was suddenly an Audi parked, but I mean, it's the Audi, so like you expect it to spin off anywhere. And yeah, couldn't do anything anymore, so luckily hit him straight, so no steering damage. And put me in a position for a really absolutely fun fight till the end with Tom, which was double jeopardy because I was 4x of drive-through. So no regrets. Was super fun.
So we saw you and your teammates taking the Mercedes. What was the logic behind the choice of the Mercedes when we've already seen a lot of those mid-engine cars be a little bit more a little bit quicker on the performance scale?
Actually, I think the Merc seems to be really strong this season. Not that it matters for someone with my skill level. But already before the week 13, I was partial to the Merc because it was the car that just felt the most suitable to my driving style. So the car I'm most comfortable with.
Mr. Kamke, what do you think is the biggest difference from driving now the GT3s compared to GTEs? Because you are one of the guys who's been really vocal about going GT3s. What do you see is the big difference?
Just a bit slower, but you got ABS, and I think they're a bit more beginner friendly. The GTEs, well, I personally have no problems with the brakes. They can be a bit more iffy, and I think being a bit more aero dependent also makes the skill gap a little bit more pronounced. So I'd say the slower the car, the closer the racing.
Yeah. Well, the slower the car, the closer you are to its pace.
Yeah, but don't underestimate me. I can be slow on anything.
That's true.
I'm
that's
pretty
true.
sure you could get beaten by a GT3 if you were driving an F1 car.
I believe so as well.
Don't tempt me.
That's true.
All right. Well, thanks for joining
Thank
us
you.
in the box, Stefan, and congrats on the finish.
Cheers.
Do you think we have time for one more, Nick?
Let's hear from Nils. Getting that P2.
All right,
Yeah,
joining us in the commentary booth as we grab him from the middle of his conversation, Niels Ullmann joining us in the booth after a strong second place finish in the AM category. Niels, we saw some travesty for Thomas Kuhn and the V3 Racing team there. It's a little bit just after the pit stops. How were you able to take advantage of that as well as to stay on board with that pit strategy?
Yeah, going into this race, I've done a VRS race earlier, and I really figured out that survival was key, especially on this track. So I was just trying to keep myself safe. I jumped a guy at the beginning, but that's pretty much the only overtake I had. So just keeping it on track, keeping it safe, hoping for the best, and got a P2 in the end, which I'm really happy about.
Well, I wanted to ask.
It's always good. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Go on, Brayden.
I
Go
just
on,
wanted
Brayden.
to ask, what was the logic behind your car choice? Kind of trying to get a insight into why each driver did go with the choices that they went, because I feel like there's so much more difference between each of the manufacturers in GT3 compared to GTE.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen the BMW is pretty quick in a straight line, but pretty much only have the Merc and the Audi, and the Merc have not really been that great past seasons. I think it was pretty good last year, but the Audi has been a bit better. It's just I think it's a better car in general. I like driving it, so that's why. It's not
That's
much
great.
more behind it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I always enjoy seeing a fellow countryman doing great in the season in this series. So my question is really, how did you find this series as well? Because you are one of the newcomers to the league.
Yeah, I joined a couple of races last year.
Okay, yeah.
It's really fun. I got spun around in Monza, but had a great race up until that point. But I was driving alone most of the race, but I find league racing to be you have much more respect for your drivers, your opponents, and everybody else compared to something like normal official races in iRacing.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
if you want good racing, I think something like this that's free to join is definitely a good option.
Yeah, definitely. That's great to have you on, and great to see that we also have new drivers joining us. And even though that you just joined the last season, we usually have drivers who's been here for 5 or 6 seasons. So good to see new drivers coming in.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm not going to be able to do the next race, but I'll hopefully do most of the races this season. But yeah, I'm happy that you brought back the GT League. It was a bit boring last season. Well, there was
we try, but yeah. So thank you for joining us, and again, congratulations on your podium.
Thank you.
Well, Nick, I think that's all that we have time for interviews. What are your final thoughts on the opening race of the GT3 League?
Up is still up and down is still down.
Very insightful.
Yeah. No, my final thoughts, because I can just, battle around there. It's just really that we've seen some new players coming in, and again, just old players like Shevers just dominating out there. I think he's gonna be the man to beat. McLaren's look strong. I'm excited to see what the rest of the season brings, and those reverse grid can really mix up everything.
Absolutely, and I think this just goes to show how much potential there is in these GT3 cars for this league. I think the racing was absolutely spectacular, a lot of clean racing, but also some difficulties with the cars, and showing just how tough it is to compete at this level with a lot of these drivers, especially someone like Mike Skeppers, who has so much raw pace, especially in that McLaren. And I think it's awesome to see how much of a difference the manufacturers the cars make per each driver, how it suits their driving style. It matters so much more than in GTE, and I think we're going to be looking at a few really awesome seasons to come. And of course, another race at the same time next week. And on that note, I think we're going to close everything out. We'll hopefully see you at about the same time come next week, about 5:10 or so in the afternoon GMT next Monday. For myself, of course, Brayden Hill, and my co-commentator, Nick Domino, we'd like to thank you once again for joining us in the AOR broadcast booth here at Watkins Glen, and we hope to see you next week, and you have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye.